he can't guarantee that the oil companies, look, their tax has gone up. It was a last-minute decision, so last minute that the independent forecasters couldn't even take it into account in their budget a forecast for the economy. Clearly, George Osborne hadn't even spoken to the oil companies. They're clearly angry. There's a question about what happens to North Sea oil investment. Can George Osborne guarantee they won't just push that straight back up at the pumps? He can't. He's obviously urging them to say they won't. He can't guarantee it. And that's a risk for people. But what he should have done is cut VAT on petrol, and he didn't.
Well, you seem to be accusing the Chancellor of something that you would have no control over either, if you were in his position. You would have no more control over petrol prices than he does now. We're hearing this morning from people who saw yesterday. Well, just a moment. We're hearing this morning already from people going to their petrol pumps yesterday who saw a price rise in the morning just to be dropped back in the evening. You wouldn't have any control over that either.
I'll tell you what I'm accusing him of doing. Not cutting VAT on petrol, which was a mistake and has raised petrol prices by 3p a litre at £1.35 in a tank. He didn't do that. He's frozen the duty, which is good. He's cut it by 1p. That's good if it's passed on. I don't know if it will be passed on, neither does he, and that's why your viewers are worried. And they're worried because of the questions the BBC asked of the Treasury yesterday, which they couldn't answer. I'm not making an accusation. I'm expressing, like you are, a concern. My accusation is, if he really wanted to make a difference, he'd have cut VAT on petrol, and he didn't deduct it.
But as you well know, the slight absurdity of this situation is that you wouldn't be able to say what the price of petrol would be if you were Chancellor, any more than he can say what it is now. That's the real economy that people live in. And this morning, filling up their tanks, feeling disgruntled maybe the government didn't do more, but also knowing, as the Chancellor said, outside.
Look, the reason why our petrol prices are so high at the pumps is, firstly, the world oil price has gone right up because of what's happening in Libya and Egypt. George Osborne can't control that. Secondly, there was a question on duty, and he didn't raise it. That was the right decision. It's what we would have done. He's cut it by 1p. We hope that gets passed on to consumers. Thirdly, he himself raised VAT. It was a complete own goal. To raise VAT in January, saying, could it mean mortgage rates go up? And if you get things wrong as a Chancellor, you should admit it. And that is one example, I think, more widely. George Osborne, in a sort of blinkered way, is ploughing on, and people in the real world are saying, why?
OK, let's talk about growth and what he's tried to do for the economy. Corporation tax, for example, coming down. Would you have done the same thing?
Well, I think it's good to cut corporation tax if you can, and he's done that by tax avoidance changes. That's a good thing. The forecasters say it will make no difference to growth and investment. I was seeing the results from Next this morning. Biggest fall in consumer confidence for 20 years. That is what's going to drive our economy, jobs and growth. And because he didn't address that big issue, what's happening to confidence and growth, the result is unemployment's going to be higher. Borrowing is going to be up by £45 billion compared to last year's forecasts. And I think lots of people are saying, well, maybe this is going in the wrong direction. Maybe it's not working after all.
Ed Walls, thank you very much for your time this morning.
If you're asking yourself, am I going to be better or worse off, especially when the new tax and benefit changes come in April, we do have Paul Lewis from Radio 4's Money Box who's going to be with us shortly. So keep your questions coming in because he is the man to answer them. Time 8:15 also coming up today. The actor